What's going on, everybody? Bogman here with CK to talk college football week 2. This is kind of a free-flowing show. We're just going to hang out, talk to you about what happened in college football this week. It's about 10 o'clock on the East Coast. There's still games going. We have a good one between Oklahoma and Michigan right now. Vatech and Vanderbilt are playing. Mississippi State, Arizona State are in a good one. But lots of stuff already happened today. I am pissed off. Don't know how you're feeling, CK. I mean, the Longhorns won. I won my big bet, and I got my parlay, but I literally lost everything else I could lose. So I won my big stuff, so I'm probably even money right now, but oh, what a frustrating day it's been.
I think that's how I felt last week. So it turns around in no time. Mine's better today. I was off to a terrible start last week. I'm doing a lot better this week. So yeah, man, that's the frustrating part of betting on these things. But when it comes through, you feel good about it. And then just like that, it gets you.
Yeah, you are humbled extremely quickly.
Yes.
Exactly. So what up, Barrow? What's going on? We see you in the crowd here. Well, let's just start out with my game because that's the most important. Everybody knows that. Texas wins 38-7. But look, Arch was better. He had 5 touchdowns. If you didn't watch the game, you're probably like, oh, okay, well, there's the Arch that we want. He didn't look good. Specifically in the first half, he even said it after the game. Frustrating day for me. It was sloppy. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns and ran for 1 as well. Like, it wasn't the worst day. Obviously, the defense for Texas still looks pretty good. Held San Jose to 7 points and under 300 yards in almost 30 minutes of possession. So, but Texas didn't cover. They didn't get their team total, all of that fun stuff. So I know that was a little frustrating to you.
Yeah, that was one that I did miss. Arch just looks jumpy at this point. He still looked jumpy. I don't know if it's just the offensive line. He doesn't feel confident, but he definitely settled in a bit. Too many penalties for Texas. If you're going to take on good teams, you cannot have that many penalties. And then 6 turnovers between the two teams, 4 for San Jose State, 2 for Texas. They'll be better. Like I said, they were better this week, but San Jose State, that's a team they should beat clearly, easily, and they did, but you're not beating a lot of SEC teams the way they played today. And so we need him to dial in here. He's got another – who do they play next week? You should know.
UTSA.
So that's one that you should win, although that is tougher than San Jose State.
UTEP. One of those two. UTEP. It is UTEP. So that one should be a big spread. Yeah.
One more game to dial in, and then the SEC hits us, and he's got to play better because you're not beating even a mid-pack SEC team the way he's playing right now, but he can do it. We just got to get him there.
Let's talk about the Cyhawk game. I know you want to get that one out of the way here. Iowa State wins 16-13 over Iowa here, and I didn't get to see a ton of this game. I know this was your classic Iowa State game. If you've watched a Cyhawk game, you've seen this game before. Iowa State wins on a late field goal. 214 total yards for Iowa, 238 for Iowa State. I mean, a real barn burner here. Gronowski was 13 of 24. Another game under 100 yards, 83 yards and a pick. Rocco Becht, not his best game, but he didn't have the turnovers. 134 yards and the touchdown. So obviously defense was the name of the day. A lot of early, I hate to say it because they're college kids, but a lot of looking hungover for some of these teams to start the day in the early slate. And this was, this is classic Iowa State, but what were your thoughts on this game?
Well, Mark Gronowski is a former Walter Payton Award winner, which is the division or the lower level Heisman Award trophy. And he's won multiple national championships there. And he looks every bit like an Iowa quarterback, man. I thought he'd be better than this. It has been rough sledding for Mark Gronowski here. 83 yards passing and a pick. This was supposed to be the improvement in the Iowa passing game, and it's still not there. The big part was Iowa State's kicker, is it Kyle Canardi, I believe, who was big in helping them win last year, and hits the late field goal. Did you see on that last drive, though, they had a ball that got batted up in the air, and it went for like a 20-yard gain? I mean, that's just
that's one of those just how they drew it up games.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes you get the bounces, sometimes you don't. They got the bounce in that one. Good for Iowa State, as everyone thought it would hit the under, but a combined 442 yards. That is just the Cyhawk trophy. That's what you come to expect. Not a big offensive game, but Always competitive.
Patheticsville, yeah, of offense, but outstandingville of defense. We love it there. Let's talk about. Let's go to UConn and Syracuse. This game was just not the way to kick off my day here. The whole game, I have UConn plus 6.5, and they're leading. They're winning this bet literally the entire day, and then, Syracuse takes the lead late. I think there's 48 seconds left. They get a 3-point lead. They get the touchdown. Woo, there's a big catch by Michigan. But they get the touchdown. They get the 2-point. They go up by 3. And then UConn almost throws a pick on the first play. I should have been wishing harder for that, I think, because that would have just ended the game. But UConn drives down the field in 39 seconds, 48 seconds, whatever it is. They kick a game-tying field goal and then blunder it up in overtime. Let Syracuse score a touchdown and can't score themselves. And I lose that game because it goes into overtime. So this is definitely a process over results, but it makes me want to flip the table over because I had the result in hand for 58 minutes of this game. 58 minutes and change in this game, and then it screwed me at the end. So just a bad beat for me. But did you get to see any of this one?
Oh yeah, because for every bad beat, there's a good beat. Some of us, like myself, took Syracuse minus 6.5, and in the end, when it's not worth it, sometimes it comes through. So I think the part that surprised. Okay, so the first half of this game, Syracuse moved the ball well. They had 4 possessions get into the red zone, and they had a total of 6 points, including 2 possessions inside the 10-yard line where they walked away with no points.
They went 4-on-4 twice, didn't they?
They turned it over, and Jelly fumbled it once, and they went for it on 4th down with a tight end up the gut run for 2 yards. Dan Valari, I think they tried to run him up the gut, and the guys got stuffed. And it's just
he had a good game though.
He did. Yeah. He did have a good game, but I just you got to have a better play call than that. I felt like this was not 4th and a foot and a half where you're putting. Was it Dallas Goedert a couple days ago that they ran up the middle? No, it was the Chargers last night ran Will Dissly, I think, up the middle once on 4th and a foot. That's one thing. You need a foot, but 2 yards, you can't run the ball. But Syracuse couldn't run the ball all game. I think that's the other part that I was surprised with because last week they ran the ball pretty well against Tennessee. But
I thought so too.
You take Steve Angeli away because he was way in the hole. But even if you take him away, 23 carries for 76 yards against UConn. I thought they'd be able to establish the run and win that game pretty easily, and it didn't happen. I lucked out. It was not results over process in that one because I guess it was results over process because it didn't work the way I wanted to, but it hit in the end. And then did you see after the game, Fran Brown made him run wind sprints?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they deserved it. Specifically, the offensive line of Syracuse played terribly. Yeah. Angeli was getting crushed routinely. It felt like on every drive he took a big pop. He is going to be, I bet you right now he's still soaking in an ice bath, man. He was taking it in the shorts in that game. But like you said, Valari with a big game, 8 targets, 7 catches, 104 yards. Gill 7-4 for 84. I missed my prop. I had Jonte Cook, who was a little banged up.
Him not playing even, yeah.
But
he did play.
I saw Tuesday that he said this is a minor injury. I'm fine, and he led them in targets by a lot this week. So just once again, never trust what the player says. But I picked this game because of UConn's offense. I thought UConn, and they put up 416 yards, so that was good. I did not expect the defense to be in this. I figured it would be pretty close down to the wire, but not so much. Another unbelievably frustrating. Down goes K-State. It's 24-21, 45 seconds left. I see it's 3rd and 32 for Army here, but yeah, that's not going to end up being good. But I had SMU minus the 2.5 in their home opener. Baylor scores a touchdown with, what would that be? 34 seconds left to tie this game. I cannot believe that SMU choked this lead away. They, the last 3 touchdowns went to Baylor at the end of this game and then lost into overtime because Kevin Jennings got hurt. So, I mean, just a frustrating loss for me, but what a back and forth game. I mean, 458 yards for SMU, 601 yards. It did go into 2 overtimes, but you don't get a lot of yards in overtime. But 601 yards, 440 passing. Sawyer Robertson, 34 50, 440 yards, 4 touchdowns. Josh Cameron didn't hit my over last week. This week, 13 targets, 9 catches, 151 and 2 touchdowns. Hawkins, 10 for 145. Kobe Prentice, the Alabama transfer, 2 touchdowns in this game. Kevin Jennings, 3 touchdowns. Harden, the UCLA transfer, 19 for 115 and 3. Brinson, 4 for 126 and 2. I mean, just this is your classic Big 12 no defense game.
Yes, it is. You see Kevin Jennings having that fumble knocked out by the ref. The referee is punching the ball out on him. Like, what is going on here?
I think Aaron in the grooming room was like, nice strip sack by the ref there. Good Lord.
I didn't see that. That's awesome. But yeah, that's 14 straight wins that I see for Baylor. The only time they led in that game was in overtime. The only time they led, 2 long touchdowns by SMU, including the very first play of the game on a ricochet to Romello Brinson on a long bomb by Kevin Jennings. So 2 long touchdowns by SMU, but when Sawyer Robertson needed to, they're down 14 points with under 6 minutes left in the game. 2 late touchdowns. I mean, SMU's defense, if you're a top 20 team, and they're not going to be after this week clearly, but if you're a top 20 team, you got to be able to get a stop there. Like if you
can't give up 600 yards to Baylor. Baylor's a good team, but they're like a second tier P4 team, right? Perfect. So you cannot give up 600 yards to that offense, even a good offense.
Nope. So we will not see. I would expect SMU probably falls out of the top 25. There's enough change that's going to happen this week. I think they'll probably fall out. Baylor and SMU both will be fairly close. I mean, Baylor had that loss last week, but it's a good win this week. And SMU is, I don't know. They won last week against I think it was like East Texas A&M, who Florida State beat like 77-3 or something today, yes. Which they did not beat like that. So we'll see. SMU's finally going to get a more, not a very top end opponent, but not a very pushover opponent either next week. So
let's talk a little Illinois Duke. Illinois on the road at Duke. 45-19 was the final in this one. This one really got away from Duke in the fourth quarter. I mean, 21 points for, I believe it was 21 points. No, I guess it was 17 points in the fourth quarter for Illinois, but it was all Illinois late here. Luke Altmaier, 22 of 31, 296 and 3 scores. Caden Fegan, only 2.8 yards per carry. Duke's rush defense was very strong in this game. Hank Beatty, 8 for 9 and 128. He also ran for a touchdown in this one, but Darian Mensah proved me wrong, shut me up. I picked the under on his prop this week because the secondary for Illinois, very experienced, very good. One of the better units in the country, but Mensah made it rain. He was great today, and that was 356 passing yards in 23 minutes and 48 seconds of possession. So Duke made the most out of what they could do, but their defense, just specifically late, got leaned on and could not stop anything. And it seemed like in the second half, specifically late, Illinois and Brett Bielema just went, all right, look, we cannot run, so we're just going to throw. And I felt like everything was a throw in the second half. And, Duke is a good story. A lot of people are picking them this week. I think they're going to be a good team in the ACC. Just Illinois has a lot of experience and a lot of guys coming back on this team. So that's why I went with Illinois, and that was one of the few I got this week.
Yeah, I didn't touch that one. I thought that one was going to be more competitive, but Illinois, like 31-6 after halftime. And you gave the fourth quarter, but 31-6 after halftime. Altmaier, super efficient. Duke, 5 turnovers, red zone fumble. Mensah was great, did turn it over in the red zone with a fumble. And the big one was, I think it was right after halftime, they muffed a punt and gave Illinois a short field, which got to go in. Did you see where, I was watching that one pretty close, Duke got a penalty for having 2 number 8s on the field at one time, which like it was, I think on 3rd and like 7, they would have had to punt. Illinois had to punt, and they gave him a free first down. And then after that, it was like the floodgates changed.
Like Manny Diaz in a nutshell right there. My God.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. And Manny Diaz gave, that was Luke Altmaier's worst game of the year was against Penn State last year. But I mean, the talent of the Penn State defense is a little bit different. So interesting one there. Let's talk about the big upset, though. Let's go there. USF on the road in the swamp in Gainesville wins outright as 17.5-point underdogs. They win this game 18-16. Lagway was just not good in this game. 23 of 33, 222 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Not enough juice in the run game. Jaden Ball was the only good player in the run game, but South Florida just like hung around. Excuse me. They just hung around, and they ended up winning this game in the last minute here. Byron Brown, 23 of 36, 263 yards and a score. Also ran for 66 yards. Just USF looking like the strongest G6 team this year, and definitely in the running for that playoff spot.
I'm Byron Brown. Okay, so USF next week goes down to Miami, right? So they're going to be ranked after this week. I feel pretty confident saying they're going to be ranked somewhere this week. They're going to Miami. Let's say they win that game.
Ooh.
Now, like Byron Brown is right now plus 7,000 for the Heisman. After that game, it is a cupcake schedule where he should tear it apart. I'm just saying, I might put just a very minimal bet on him at plus 7,000 because they win that game, and then I expect him to pad the stats the rest of the season. It could be something there. But yeah, I took South Florida plus the 17.5. I, of course, didn't expect him to win that game, but I knew 31-28 last time they played at Florida and covered, I think, the last 4 times they played Bama or Florida. So I was expecting them to be close, and then I thought, well, Florida's going to look ahead to LSU, not expecting South Florida to win that game. But there were times I said South Florida looked like the better team. This was not we lucked out with turnovers.
Yes.
This was nothing like that. South Florida looked like a better team than Florida did at the Swamp. So I'm expecting a pretty competitive game next week against Miami. I probably will see what the spread ends up being, but I might be willing to pick South Florida again in that game.
Yeah, and this was results over process because the reason I picked this game to go under, and this was my favorite bet of the week because it came out at 54.5. And I said, well, look, we just saw USF play very hard against a Boise State team, a playoff team from last year with lots of returning production, not their 2 biggest pieces, right? Genty gone, Camper gone, right? But still a very experienced team coming in. You would think with that much talent coming back, you have to replace the running back, which is usually the easiest position to replace. But I mean, obviously Genty is just on a different level than other running backs, that they would compete in that game. And they got absolutely smoked. And then Florida is supposed to be good this year. We all thought that this was going to be a game. This is why I stayed away from the side too. Was like, I thought that Florida's pretty good, like Lagway the whole year with this talent at the receiver position. I think they should be way better, but just an ugly game here. So, and like Aaron said, Napier with the coach prime clock management left with a couple timeouts in his pocket as well. So ugly loss for Florida. Speaking of ugly, if I might murder Mark Stoops if I see him in public. I mean, JK, obviously for reasons, but this was so unbelievably frustrating because this one I was like, okay, luck's going to pay me back here. And we saw Mississippi kick a field goal with 1 minute and 14 seconds left in the game to go up 10. I had picked it in my show at 10.5, but I got it at a sportsbook at 9.5. So I was okay with that result, even though it was going to be a loss no matter what in my show. But Kentucky drove down the field. The most frustrating thing is Ole Miss letting Kentucky drive down the field. But Kentucky drives down the field and decides to kick the field goal and go for the onside kick, which is the right thing to do, which is why I would never harm Mark Stoops, of course, all joking. But just what are you doing, Ole Miss? This game, Simmons was hurt and then left and then came back, and it was just very strange. We had Kawan Lacey, 28 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown in this game. Harrison Wallace, the Penn State transfer, 4 for 117. Deuce Alexander, 4 for 68. Kentucky, Calzada was miserable again, 15 for 30, 149 yards. Only rushed for 9 yards in this game. McGowan had 2 touchdowns. Jamori Macklin looked pretty good, 5 for 56, 2 for 54 for Gilmore. But I hate Kentucky. Kentucky and Notre Dame are the 2 teams that I just cannot pick right. If I pick against them, they win. If I pick with them, they lose. It's just, they screw me every single time, and I'm just done messing with Kentucky.
Yeah, I took the Ole Miss minus 10.5 in this one too. That one didn't deliver. I checked. Kentucky was 2-5 against the spread in the last 7 games, and I thought, okay, after last year, they're going to come out and they're going to beat them out. And part of it was, I think, the Austin Simmons injury. He completed 13 passes for 235 yards, showing just how far down the field a lot of those just huge plays galore for
I think
Ole
it was
Miss.
the first drive, wasn't it? That he he limped off to the side and he immediately called trainers over. It was something with his ankle. So
he kind of
obviously didn't hear all of it. The backup came in for a little bit and just ran.
He did. He never passed it, but he did play for a while. And then at the end of the game, our boy Zal Calzada got hurt too. His shoulder thing at the end of the game too. So I will see if he's playing or not. But I think the 2 picks by Austin Simmons is really what kept this game close. Kentucky was outplayed more than 7 points. I mean, more than 10 points. It should not have been that close, but the 2 picks by Austin Simmons is what kept it close. But yeah, that was a tough one. Good win for Ole Miss in the end, but it felt like that one should have been a bigger lead and definitely covered that spread that we thought.
It's just super frustrating. What about Missouri, Kansas? This game was a lot of fun, and I had Missouri on the money line. So we got that one,
Nice.
42-31, the first border war since Missouri went to the SEC in 2011. So, or 2012, they played in 2011. But we did see Bo Prabula, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also he had a fumble in there as well. But Roberts, their running back, Jamal Roberts, had a big 63-yard touchdown run. Carried the ball 13 times for 143 yards and a score. And Ahmad Hardy, 25 for 112 in his score. Mississippi State transfer Kevin Coleman, Keon Coleman plays for the Bills. 10 for 126 and a touchdown for them. Norfleet had 2 scores as well. He's a lot of fun to watch in this. How do you say his name? Alugbadi? I don't know. He had an amazing first down catch. It was unbelievable. It's going to be one of those highlights all game. But I mean, the difference was here. Both teams had a lot of offense. Kansas could not run the football. Jalen Daniels, 18 for 30, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. He ran for 17 yards and a touchdown. He was their leading rusher. They only had 9 other rush attempts. Hanukkah had 2 touchdowns. He was good in this game. But Emmanuel Henderson only 3 for 29. And, it was close down to the end. Kansas held in valiantly, but this was a Missouri stomping. It was 595 total yards to 226.
I was going to say, my first thing I was going to say was the score doesn't reflect how one-sided this game was at times. Kansas got off. They scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, I think. 3, or it was either 3 in the first quarter, but the one was really early in the second.
It was 3 in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was early. They scored, and then it felt like they could not get a whole lot going on offense. Time of possession, 40 minutes for Missouri to 19 for Kansas. It was more one-sided, but if you can't run the ball, I mean, when Jalen Daniels is your best rusher and your running back Daniel Highshaw, who was pretty good, I think he's pretty good, but 6 carries for 11 yards. If you can't run the ball against a team like Missouri, who's picking up 260 rushing yards on the ground, that's pretty tough to win. To going on the road and beating a team like that without being able to run the ball, you need a lot of turnovers, and they didn't get them. So that's how you lose a game like that. Actually, closer than I said, it doesn't necessarily reflect how one side of that game was.
It does not. That game was absolutely lopsided. Speaking of lopsided games, I guess we have to talk about it. 69-3, Oregon beats Oklahoma State. I don't know how Gundy might be gone tomorrow. I mean, listen, this was a bad. This has to be Gundy's worst loss. I didn't look it up. I'm just going to say it's his worst loss. What other loss could be worse than this? Maybe right when he took over or something, they had something worse. But this was a backup quarterback on the road at Oregon, a top 5 team in the country, blah, blah. But, I mean, this was ugly. This was 631 yards for Oregon, 312 on the ground, 319 through the air. They held Oklahoma State to 211 yards, and OK State led in possession, 31-19 to 28-41 in this game. 10 punts for Oklahoma State. I mean, 4 for 16 on third down. They had 9 first downs for the game. 24 for Oregon in this one. Moore, 226 and 3. Whittington, 4 carries is all they gave him. 91 yards and a score. Moore caught his first touchdown. DeCorian Moore, the true freshman. I mean, this was just a embarrassment from beginning to end. And this is kind of, it feels like this is one of, if not the last game that Mike Gundy is going to coach for this team.
I think DeCoria Moore ran in a touchdown too in that game. He was great, but yeah, it is. I looked it up while you were talking. Last year they lost 52-0 to Colorado. That was the previous worst loss. So now 69-3. And I said, I don't really care if it's a backup quarterback. Yes, you lost your quarterback. I don't really care. You should not lose at a team like Oklahoma State should not be losing by 63 to anyone. I don't really care if you lost your quarterback. And
how much money has T. Boone Pickens put into this team, for God's sake?
Exactly. Not enough, but I'm sure that T. Boone's going to find some money to look into whatever that buyout is on Mike Gundy and see, especially pretty soon. I think you mentioned it last week. What's Alex Golish going for right about now?
Oh my God. He's gonna get an enormous job if he wants it next offseason.
So I would expect, another loss like this or some big losses in the Big 12, and we will not see Mike Gundy. I think he's the longest tenure. Kirk Ferentz, I think, is the longest tenured, and then maybe behind him it's Mike Gundy. But he had some good years there, but it's gotten stale, so I think he's probably out soon.
Let's go to, this one had a weird lightning delay, but Clemson beats Troy 27-16. I thought, okay, Clemson is angry. They're at home. Troy has been good in the FCS or the G6, excuse me. I'm not going to sit here and bash them, but they should not be hanging around with Clemson. And they were leading. I think were they leading going into half?
16-3. They were up 16-0 at one point in that game.
Right. Yeah. So a field goal for Troy, then pick six, which is like just it popped up and they caught it in the end zone, I believe. Then a deep pass for a touchdown. Obviously, Clemson came back in the second half. Troy didn't do anything. They didn't score. They didn't move the ball either. But 316 yards against Troy. Cade Klubnik in this game, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the pick six. Randall looked okay, 5.3 yards per carry, 21 carries, 112 yards, and Wesco had 2 touchdowns, but not an impressive day from the Clemson Tigers, and this is a team that I'd expect, even coming off a win, to move down in the rankings.
Illinois was at 11. You put Illinois ahead of Clemson now?
I think right now you would have to.
I think so too. I think you almost have to put them ahead of Clemson, and the defense turned it around. The offense was completely stalled. The Clemson defense came out after halftime with 2 turnovers. They had 2 interceptions, and then Troy I watched part of that. They had a pretty long drive. I want to say it was like 15 plays, and they lined up for a field goal, tried to fake the field goal, and Clemson's D's just too fast for some of that to happen, and that was the turnaround in this game. So 3 straight. I don't think Troy. I think that might have been their only possessions in the second half was 3. Maybe they had a 4th one at the end of the game, but they didn't do anything. Troy didn't help themselves either. 10 penalties, 3 interceptions. I mentioned the 2 of them. But yeah, Clemson should not be only winning by 11 points against a team like Troy at home when they're 30.5-point favorites. So yes, they could easily drop in the standings here. And I think next week they take on Georgia Tech. If they play like that, I have some concerns about Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's a way better team than Troy, and they'll hang with them in there. And Haynes King is give him all the grinder gamer stuff. We could say he's a gamer in there. Like, he's not going to go down easily. So we'll see.
And that's why he missed this week, right? Haynes King is to play next week.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, it's got to be there. Anything else on that one? Okay, let's hit some of these games. I skipped a couple. Minnesota beat Northwestern State 66-zip. Darius Taylor got hurt in that game, though. I think that's the big note that we have to talk about. Hamstring pull, so we'll see. That's a big loss for Minnesota, their lead back. And they play at Cal next week. That should be a win. Rutgers, and then Ohio State. So Ohio State's in 3 weeks. He needs to be back by then.
Yeah, he did. PJ Fleck afterwards said he didn't seem too bad. He thought that it sounded pretty okay. I would guess they don't play him next week just to get him healthy by then, but I think bullet dodged in that one. I think he'll be okay.
Drew Aller, also just an okay game here against FIU. 19 of 33, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Katron Allen, 16 for 144 and a score. Singleton 13 for 76 and a score. Ross also scored a touchdown, but they won 34-zip. It seemed pretty decent, but I don't know. Drew Aller just okay.
We call that a Drew Aller box. That's what we call it. When he's perfectly okay, that's what we call those games. I don't watch that one at all.
By the way, I'm gonna need you to quit saying future Pittsburgh Steeler Drew Aller in our group me. That would be great if you could stop doing that. Appreciate that.
Just saying they're gonna be, you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna finish 9-8, 8-9, right in the middle. Norris Sellers will be gone. Nussmeier will be gone. They'll be sitting right on the board, and they'll say,
trade for Tyson Bagent. That's what I want.
They just gave him a big contract, man. Yeah, I don't know.
$10 million bucks.
Yeah.
That I think it's 3 years, 10. We could take that. That's not a big deal. Yeah. And by the way, he's just such a good dude. I think he's giving it a lot of it to his community. Florida State just beat the crap out of East Texas A&M 77-3. They had 729 yards, 361 rushing yards. I mean, everybody looked good here. Castellanos, 8 completions for 237 yards and 3 touchdowns. Singleton, 4 carries for 82 and a score. I mean, just Florida State looks like they are all the way back after one really terrible, horrific year. They seem like a natty contender already.
It's all that's what the transfer portal can do. When you are a team like Florida State and you can bring in, Castellanos is the big one, of course, but Deuce Robinson, best game of his career. I think it was only 4 catches, and he turned it into 2 touchdowns and almost 200 yards. Gavin Sawchuk had a TD in that game. Your guy, I'm assuming it's your guy, Javon Boggs, the freshman, with his first ever catching a TD. I assume that's your boy. So yeah, I mean, Florida State, that's what they do. It doesn't take long, and a good team like that can rebuild through the transfer portal. The big games are coming up with them, Miami and Clemson, pretty soon.
Yeah, that's going to be some fun ones. Let's see. Indiana whooped up on Kennesaw State 56-9. Not a surprise there. How about this one? NC State 35, Virginia 31. This was a good game all the way down to the wire. It looked like Virginia had driven the ball deep. I think they were in the red zone for sure and threw a pick to end this game. Chandler Morris did, but a good game for him, 30-43, 257, a touchdown, and unfortunately that pick to end it. But they had exactly Virginia 257 passing yards and 257 rushing yards, but 514 yards, 416 yards for NC State. They were good too. Bailey 16 of 28, 200 yards and a touchdown, but Smothers 17 for 140 and 2 touchdowns. CJ Bailey also ran for 44 yards and 2 scores. So NC State hangs on here. They're not going to win a lot if they can't stop anybody, though. And I like Virginia. I think they're a good school. We had Jamari Taylor ran all over them, though. 17 for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. They couldn't stop the run. 8.8 yards per carry for Taylor. 18.7 yards per carry for Chandler Morris on 3 rushes. 3 for 56. So, this NC State comes away with the win. It's a good day for them, but that rushing defense is sus.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Chandler Morris questionable going into this game? Wasn't he battling an injury?
They said Wednesday that he was going to play, but he was banged up last week and questionable on Monday. That's why we were talking about this game on Monday, and I was like, I'm going to wait till we hear what's going on with Morris because we have no update. So they updated Wednesday, but he might not have been 100% out here, and they still barely lost.
Yeah, then NC State's defense needs to figure it out if they're going to try to do anything in the ACC, because if you have a banged up team and they should be better than Virginia, and to give up that type of rushing production, not good.
Now tell me, did Texas Tech cover?
Ooh, I believe
62-14.
They did not.
Was it did they get hooked?
They got hooked.
Oh my God, the hook is what got you on if you bet Texas Tech at 48.5 against Kent State. Kent State with a win against the spread by only losing by 48 points instead of 49. What a victory for the Golden Flashes here. Baron Morton, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. Will Hammond came in and threw 94 yards and a score as well. Adam Hill, 16 for 127. I mean, you get a touchdown. Eakin, let's see, Virgil had 2, Jones had 1. I mean, this was a smackdown. Is it how do you rank the Big 12 between Tech, Utah, and Arizona State?
Hmm. Probably Utah. I think they have the best defense. Arizona State, and then Texas Tech, I think.
I think so too. But I think that I think those lines are getting blurrier every
Yeah.
single week. Arizona State trying to play comeback here. By the way, Virginia Tech just getting absolutely smoked. I'm going to lose that one as well. So 37-20 now in the fourth quarter. Yikes. Not a great
Yeah.
day. Georgia beat Austin Peay 28-6. I didn't see much of this game, but Gunnar Stockton, 227 yards. That's it. Frazier, 14 for 69 and 2. Bowens ran for 2 touchdowns as well. Austin Peay is a decent FCS school. I know that, but where are we concerned here? Is it with this offense? Because I mean, they did put up 421 yards. They ran for 190. They had 26 first downs. They dominated time of possession, but 28 points? What's going on here?
So that one had a long weather delay in the middle of it. I watched part of that. I feel like after halftime it was close to 2 hours of a halftime, and I feel like that probably contributed to some of it. But that's another team. I wouldn't be surprised, if they fell a little bit in the standings too. I think they're fourth right now. If you're only beating, I don't know what the spread was, but I'm sure it was much higher than 22 points against, like you said, a good FCS school, but they should win more than that. And they didn't. So I would expect them to drop. I think the concern has to be there's just no big plays at all in the Georgia offense. Their longest run was 23 yards. Their longest pass didn't even go 20 yards. 19 yards was their longest pass. You've got to hit some big plays. Like Austin Peay had a 34-yard completion. They had a 26-yard completion. If you're giving up bigger plays to that, something's wrong there. So Georgia's got to start hitting some bigger plays.
Well, what do you think Gunnar Stockton's leash looks like?
I think it's pretty firmly. I think it's long. I think he's got some time here. I'm not worried about that yet.
Okay. Let's see what else. We had some other just stomping. So Ohio State beat Grambling 70-0. Like, we know the Battle of the Bands was better there. Julian Sand, 306, 4 touchdowns and a pick. We had the backup Bo Jackson, 9 for 108 and a score. CJ Donaldson had 5 for 46 and a score. Jeremiah Smith with an 87-yard touchdown here. Tate scored. Carmack scored. Thurman scored. I mean, that game was a blowout. We also had Tennessee beat East Tennessee State 72-17. That one was a stomping. Joey Aguilar, 288 and 2. And let's see. Sar Thomas ran for 3 touchdowns. Brazel had 2 scores as well. Wisconsin beat up on Middle Tennessee. I did see this game with 7-zip MTSU to start, and I was like, oh, man, my boy Fitz is going to be mad. CK won't be happy with this, but they did end up with the dub and putting up 426 yards, so not looking bad there. Any of those games you want to talk about?
I didn't watch a whole lot of Ohio State and Grambling. I did see the Jeremiah Smith long touchdown. That was about it. Wisconsin... Yeah. It was looking rough for a while. Eventually, they got it going against Middle Tennessee State, but that's Wisconsin and Alabama next week. So they got by on some reverse plays to get the ground game running. That won't work against Alabama. You've got to be able to run the ball up the gut. And Alabama is currently, last I saw, they were up, I think 59-0 or something like that.
They're exercising some demons today.
They are. Yeah. They are taking advantage of UL Monroe right now. So that should be a good one next week. We talk about West Virginia and Ohio.
Yes, because I didn't see any of this game. Seth was big on this game, and I think he picked Ohio in this one, and they won straight up 17-10. And I mean, this one, Ohio put up 429 yards and held West Virginia to 250. I mean, just an incredible game by Parker Navarro, 247 yards, a touchdown. He threw 3 picks, but also ran for 87 yards, put this team on his back. Bangura, 20 for 66 and a touchdown. Hendricks, 8 for 121 in his score. This is an embarrassing loss for West Virginia. You can't, even if you're on the road, you shouldn't be losing to any MAC team at WVU. So what are your thoughts here? This was ugly.
if Parker Navarro doesn't throw 3 picks, this might have been a blowout. Like,
Right.
Ohio was a much better team than West Virginia. 2 of 13 on third down, and it didn't even feel that good. Now, I took Ohio. I didn't take them. I don't know if you picked them straight up. I took Ohio plus the 3.5, thinking I think they were 6 at home last season against the spread. Ohio was, and this Ohio team's better than the one that a couple of years ago went into Iowa State and beat Iowa State. I didn't expect them to win, but I thought they could be very competitive in that game, and they were the better team. Another one, just like USF against Florida. Ohio was clearly the better team than West Virginia today, and Parker Navarro's turnover, but 40 minutes of time of possession to just under 20 for West Virginia. That's pathetic for
that is pathetic.
Team.
That is pathetic, man. Yeah, they got to get it together.
Aaron's got it down there. 4-1 against the Big 12 in the last 5.
4-1, and Rich Rod, what are we doing here? Man, what some of these other games here? I mean, Utah beat the bejesus out of Cal Poly 63-9. How many yards did they put up in this one? 518, 273 on the ground. Dampier 192 and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for 25 yards. I mean, that game was just a stomping. We saw Miami beat Bethune-Cookman 45-3. Let's talk Army beating Kansas State 24-21 in Manhattan at Kansas State. And this one was this is close down to the wire because I think Army scored with like 3 minutes left. 2:52 is what it says here. They put up 332 yards, but held Kansas State to 247 yards of offense. Avery Johnson might just not be that guy. Obviously, losing Dylan Edwards to start the season has hurt them a lot. He was going to be their main weapon in the run game, and they had a really rough time trying to run against Army today. And but Army got embarrassed by Tarleton State, who is a very good FCS school, but they lost last week, and then they go into Kansas State and beat them. Just a weird series of events to start the year.
And Army's preferred starting quarterback, Dwayne, is it Robinson? Didn't play that game. I think it's Dwayne Robinson. He did not play that game, so they were running with a backup quarterback. Now, they threw the ball 12 times in that game, including one with a wide receiver pass for 52 yards. So that's not clearly as important. 70 rushing attempts, Boggs. It's just wild.
Well, I tell you what,
yards.
Well, what we saw Iowa State do against Kansas State in that Ireland game to start the year was they looked miserable in the first half. Kansas State can pass rush. They can pass rush like a MFer. They cannot stop the run. Iowa State just kept going to the run over the right side in that game. And against a team that rushes, we should have put 2 and 2 together. We should have hammered this game on Army.
I mean, this is the way that Army wants to win. 22 third downs. You pick up only 10 of them, but 6 of 7 on fourth down. That's the most Army stat I've ever seen. Kansas State 2 of 9 on third down and 40 minutes time of possession to 19 for Kansas State. That's how you bounce back from a weird Tarleton State loss. But yeah, Dylan Edwards cannot get, I think it's the hammy, right? Was it the hamstring, I believe? He cannot get that thing healthy soon enough for Kansas State here.
Yeah, I mean that their offense looks pathetic, and Avery Johnson is their highest rated recruit like ever, and he has looked terrible to start the year. So they got to get it together there. Kleiman's a good coach too. Yes, so, but this is easy proof that the talent's on the field, right? Let's go to Tulane beating South Alabama 33-31. What a fun game. This one was 406 yards of offense for Tulane, 421 for South Alabama. And this was South Alabama was making a fast and furious comeback, but they scored with less than a minute left, 59 seconds, and just failed on the 2-point conversion to tie here, which is a weird 33-31, very weird score in this game. But Jeff Retzlaff, 13 for 24, only 125 yards and a touchdown, but he also ran for 64 and a score. Mobley ran for 2 touchdowns for Tulane. For South Alabama, Davenport 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bullock 107 and a score. Davenport also ran for 68 and a score. But Devin Vosen was the star here, 10 for 8. 152 and 2 touchdowns and a losing effort for South Alabama. But, I mean, Jeff Retzlaff has come in here and looked great. Jake Retzlaff. I don't know why I keep calling him Jeff Retzlaff. Jake Retzlaff has come in here and looked great for Tulane. 2 big wins to start the year.
Hey, that's you're losing out there, BYU, but I don't think you care too much. That's another, like, Tulane took 87 yards worth of penalties in that game too to slow them down, but good job for Tulane to take a chance, getting their quarterback back. We've seen how many different, Michael Pratt being the most famous one that got Tulane to the Rose Bowl or something like that, a top one, but Tulane's had success with quarterbacks in the past, so good for Retzlaff to find a soft landing spot here and scoring a lot of points early in the season. That's 2-0. South Alabama, first loss for them, but they'll bounce back too. They had to deal with a late transfer out of Gio Lopez there, and to still come out and put up 31 with we talked Bishop Davenport at the end of last season too. I think maybe Gio Lopez was hurt or whatever, but he's got off to a good start and already shown he's a dual threat there. 231 yards passing, 63 rushing. Good for him.
Yeah, they should have a good year for sure. Let's go to North Carolina, who beat Charlotte 20-3 on the road. I mean, it's a win, right? But they had 304 yards. Now, they did hold Charlotte to 271 yards, but Charlotte looked awful last week. I can't remember who they played, but they looked terrible. Gio Lopez, 17 for 25, 155 yards and a touchdown. Not a lot in the run game. June, 9 for 52, 9 for 44 for Gio Lopez. Goss scored a touchdown. Culver had 3 for 74 and a touchdown through the air. Fairly unimpressive. Speaking of unimpressive also, LSU won 23-7 against La Tech. I mean, okay. They did have 365 yards total, but Nussmeier, 26 of 41 for 237 yards, a touchdown and a pick. That's not great. Caden Durham scored a touchdown, which was good for a prop that I had, but other than that, this was not great. Barry and Brown, 8 for 94. Anderson, 8 for 73, but they were heavy favorites against La Tech too. So 2 teams that got embarrassed last week. LSU won last week. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm thinking of Clemson, but LSU not looking as good as they won as they did against Clemson last week, and North Carolina barely. I mean, 20-3 is a win, but that's not that. It should be way bigger if you're North Carolina playing Charlotte, who's in a down year.
I don't understand. So I watched parts of that game. I watched more of actually LSU and Louisiana Tech, but I watched part of that game, and I just don't understand what Bill Belichick's doing with that team. Like, he is calling some of the strangest offense. He is not helping Gio Lopez at all, and then they're not running the ball. I thought, okay, well, you convinced Davion Gauss to come back out of the transfer portal. You must have a good plan for him. Nope. So, maybe he's just getting used to this, and we'll get it more dialed in here. But I thought, at least if there's one thing I know with Bill Belichick, it's that after months to plan these offenses, he'd have a good plan. That did not deliver at all last week. And today, yeah, they should have won bigger in that game. I took Louisiana Tech plus the 37.5 because I thought their defense is good. And this is between Clemson and Florida. So LSU might get off to a big lead and just slow it down. But that was 10-0 at halftime. And that was in spite of, at the time, when it was 10-0, Louisiana Tech had 92 yards of penalties on 7 penalties at halftime. Otherwise, that game could have been even closer. Louisiana Tech has a pretty good defense. That's why I was okay taking that, but not good enough that LSU should not be able to score 40 points in that game. They
were 35.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
And they scored 23 points.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Should be able to move the ball at will against the team. I said Louisiana Tech, good defense for their level, but they have got to figure out this running game. Like Nussmeier, 237 a touchdown. Yeah, it's not great. I'm not overly concerned, but you cannot have a team like LSU go 34 carries for 128 yards against Louisiana Tech. That team, you've got Georgia Tech coming, or you got Georgia coming, I'm sure, at some point, Alabama, Florida next week. They have got to be able to figure out this running game. Caden Durham cannot run for 29 yards on 13 carries against Louisiana Tech with a long of 5 yards. That's not going to cut it in the SEC.
Not a good look at all. Let's see. Nebraska beat Akron 63-zip. Auburn beat Ball State 42-3. I don't know if there's much there. There's probably more in the games that are going on now. Looks like Oklahoma's about to put this game to bed against Michigan. They're in the red zone right now. It's 21-13, 3rd and 7. They just hit the 2-minute warning. Arizona State did come back and take the lead on Mississippi State. Now Mississippi State has the ball. They're driving here. There's about a little less than a minute left in that game. Anything, I mean, they're not over, but anything you want to talk about that you've seen from these two games?
Mississippi State off to a hot start in that game. I texted our guy Chad to say, "Hey, how much are you loving this?" And he just responded with one word: "More." And ever since then, they have not scored. So I probably jinxed you in that respect. But Arizona State with a comeback, but they're looking good to cover the spread there. Oklahoma, the loss or the suspension of Jayshon Barham, I think, was a big part of it in the first half. And they couldn't run the ball. Did you see him fighting? Justice Haynes and Bryce Underwood getting into it after
Yeah,
other
on the sideline.
That's a bad look when you are in the second game of the season. But then Justice Haynes comes out with the very first play of the second half and busts it for 80-yard touchdown run. That was a good start. But Mateer bounced back, doing his weird run around, breaking everything and picking up big chunks of yardage. It still works even at Oklahoma. I didn't know if it would transfer up a level, but it seems to be working here.
This was the big test to me for him, right? Like, because he played at Washington State, he looked great, but he had not faced an SEC level defense like Michigan or a Power 4 defense. I think Washington was the only P4 team that they played last year, and they won that game, and he looked great in it. And that was really kind of what sparked the Mateer. I knew he was going to transfer somewhere. Unfortunately, it was Oklahoma, but he has looked great. 74 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, 266 and a touchdown. By the way, as we're speaking, Mississippi State just took the lead on Arizona State on a big touchdown pass, about 60 yards, I think. Here, was this a pass or was this Shapen just pulled it down? No, that's a pass. It's a pass.
That's a pass. Yeah.
I have the quad box, so everything. I have to squint to see everything. My eyes are going bad here. Anything in, let's see, UNLV, UCLA. I haven't really seen any of that, but UNLV is beating UCLA. UCLA might just not be very good, even with Nico here. I know UNLV is they're good for an FCS school, but they shouldn't be beating UCLA, should they?
They should not be beating UCLA, but I gave my thoughts on Nico last week. Let's see. He's actually played pretty well. 1 for 10 on third down. So just watching this game, just looking at the stat line quickly, that's a big part of it. And both the teams, I mean, that must be a flag fest. 23 penalties in that game for 219 yards. That is probably an unenjoyable watch. But 1 of 10 on third down, that's going to get you. So UNLV, I saw that they were up big at halftime in that game, and UCLA is actually coming back. But
I think they're going to run out of time.
I think they're going to run out of time too.
Let's see. I didn't see this. UCF stomping North Carolina A&T 68-zip. Boston College, Michigan State are in overtime, tied at 27. USC put up some points, 59-20 against Georgia Southern. Let's see how that turned out here.
So I have that one minus 28.5 because it was USC 73-13 last week at Missouri State. So I knew, okay, we're not afraid to run up the score. We'll run up some scores here, and especially Clay Helton going back against Georgia Southern playing.
Oh
yeah,
so that's a good point.
I thought, maybe we'll get it going here, and couldn't. Georgia Southern struggled last week, gave up 42 to Fresno State, so I felt good about that one. And so far, so good. Waymon Jordan, 16 carries for 167 yards and a TD. They've had 4 rushing touchdowns. We like to see that. That one's looking pretty good for me.
And Makai Lemon has 4 for 158 and 2. Maeva has 4 passing touchdowns.
Did you see the touchdown that Jacoby Lane had in that game?
I did not. I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen any of that. I'm gonna have to catch that one on like the replay. So
let me see if I can drop it in the line here. I just want live reaction here. Okay.
Yeah. Put it in private chat. I would love to see it.
Let's see.
This game right now, while you're doing that, I just want to give out some more stats. Like you said, Wyman, 6 for Wyman Jordan, 16 for 167 and a score. Lane, 3 for 91, and this touchdown I'm about to watch here. Let's see. Okay. And one hand snag. My God.
It's actually
better. How big are this dude's hands? My God.
He is one huge dude. I think, where did I have him on? I got to bring up my
Those meat hooks have got to be enormous, dude. He just palmed the ball and stood in the end zone. Like
I believe they threw a flag on the other guy. They threw a pass interference flag too, because he's getting pulled down and he still goes up and snags it. I had Jacoby Lane I had him at 11. It's a good
Wow.
receiver class, though.
Yeah, I mean that was a snag. Dude with size too, and Lemon looked good too. Nice combo for those guys. Alabama, currently there is 2 minutes left, and they're up 66-0. So exercising a couple demons here. Ty Simpson, 226-3. We've got Mack in here who threw 2 touchdowns. Russell threw 2 touchdowns. Young ran for a touchdown. Jeremy Bernard scored 2. Horton scored 1. Adams scored 1. Shergwin scored 1. Cuevas scored 1. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. Everybody gets a touchdown. Alabama has put up 521 yards and held them to 141.
That's what you do against a bad team. That's what Georgia should have done. We can say Mississippi State has won as they picked off Sam Levitt. So that one is going to go for Mississippi State there.
So would you move Arizona State behind Texas Tech now? This is not a conference loss.
No, and Texas Tech.
You think Texas Tech will get smoked by Mississippi State?
Yeah, I think
they didn't get smoked.
I think Mississippi State and Texas Tech and Arizona State are all, even though Mississippi State wasn't rated, their defense is much better this season. That's what it was last year. They can always move the ball, but right. I don't think that Arizona State was ranked 12th going into this game, 13th, something like that going into this game. That's not reminiscent. That's not reflective of how close Mississippi State and Arizona State really are. I don't think so. I would still keep Arizona State ahead of Texas Tech, but I think Texas Tech and Mississippi State would be competitive too.
I think that's just about everything that we have for you. I mean, we have Louisiana 27-10 over McNeese right now. South Carolina, what is our boy Lenore Sellers done? Only 6 for 13, 63 yards so far. Not much there. That game is at halftime. They're winning 17-3. BYU looks like they're going to run it up on Stanford here. Washington State and San Diego State is probably going to be closer than it should be. And then we have another hour before Sam Houston and Hawaii start. So lots of action still to go, but we covered most of it here for you. Any other final words before we go here, CK?
The only other one I want to mention, did you see any of North Texas and Western Michigan going into overtime?
No, I didn't see a single second of that one.
That was a good one, too. It ended up 33-30 with, Western Michigan's 0-2, but they have been super competitive in both games. And North Texas, we expect the offense there, and they actually ran for 100 yards, which is somewhat surprising, but as usual, they can always throw the ball. Western Michigan, 30 carries for Jalen Buckley in that game. It was this is the two most contrasting styles ever because, North Texas wants to throw it, and Western Michigan, I think, threw it. I don't think they had 100 yards passing, and they still scored 30 points. So that one was a fun one, too. I watched that.
Crazy game. Yeah, I watched Fresno State and the Fresno State and who the hell did they play? God, it's getting late, man. I'm tired at the end here, but this was one of the games that I won. They played. Why can't I remember?
Was that Oregon State? Was that Oregon?
Yes,
State?
Oregon State. Yes. Good God, why couldn't I not remember that? But okay, so that spread, I had Fresno State plus 1.5, and they scored. Not Fresno State. Oregon State scored with a minute and 50 seconds left, and they went up by 1 point, and then they went for 2. And I was like, is this going to happen to me again? And they missed the 2-point conversion. Ooh. And then Fresno State drove down the field, kicked a field goal. And then I was like, no, let's not do this. They left 39 seconds left on the clock. And luckily, Malik Murphy threw a pick 6 and Fresno State ended up winning that game.
It looks better on paper then because it's almost a 10-point win, 9-point win there. So, hey.
Yes. Yeah, it looks good on paper, but I was sweating bullets.
State. That's 2 home losses for Oregon State.
They're not a good team. I think Malik Murphy is okay, but he's not what people thought he was going to be. That's why he left Duke. That's why they went and got Darian Mensah, right? That's a run-first team. They're okay, but I don't know. Do you see their coach at halftime? Special teams a joke. He was screaming obscenities. It's so funny, dude. But that is going to be it for us. We appreciate you guys. Follow us on the Twitter at Bogman Sports for myself, at COPIEPS for CK. What's coming up for you?
Oh, football, fantasy football for the NFL, waiver wire shows, Thursday night live show. So you watch Bogman, and then when he's done, come watch me doing a live show on Brand Fantasy Six Packs YouTube, DFS stuff for baseball. Just follow the Twitter; it's all there.
Yep. Same for me. Out of Bounds coming back on Monday with me and Joe and Welsh. So we'll get that back. And then, I have 3 college shows a week on BP, talking bets in every single one of those. So you might want to fade me after this week. I hit my big money ones, but overall my record is not going to be great. But we'll be back at it next week. We will see you guys then. Take it easy, everybody.